Crafting your academic CV. During this presentation, we're going to learn about creating an academic CV. As you progress through your undergraduate and graduate level studies, you will accumulate a variety of notable experiences, achievements, and accolades. Your academic CV is the document where you'll keep a running record of all of your accomplishments so that you can present them in a readable and organized way to graduate school selection committees and future employers. So, what are we going to talk about today? First, we'll overview what a curriculum vitae is and why it's important. Second, we'll identify who looks at your CV and why. Third, we'll take a look at the different sections of a CV. Then, we'll talk about some formatting tips to help you craft your CV in an organized and readable manner. We'll follow that up by having a glance at a sample CV. Then, we'll discuss how to tailor your CV to each position that you apply for. Finally, we'll identify some additional resources to help you learn more about crafting your academic CV. What is a curriculum vitae? Curriculum vitae, or CV, is Latin for course of life. This means that your academic CV literally shows the course of your academic life. It is a listing of your scholarly related experiences, achievements, and accolades. Ultimately, your CV provides admissions committees with a comprehensive picture of your life and accomplishments as a scholar. It might help some of you to think about your academic CV a little bit like a resume. Both list relevant experiences from your background. However, the goal of the academic CV is to provide committees with a comprehensive picture of your academic credentials. A resume is only intended to provide a brief snapshot of your qualifications. CVs are broken up into several different sections. For example, you'll have different sections for your educational background, publication history, and the honors and awards you've received. The entries within each section are presented in reverse chronological order, with the most recent entries listed first. For instance, you would list this year's presentations before last year's presentations, last year's presentations before those from 2 years ago, and so on. By listing the entries within each section in reverse chronological order, you make it easier for readers to get a sense of what you've been doing lately and the direction you're heading in. Who looks at your CV? Your academic CV will be submitted as part of your application package when you apply to graduate schools or when you apply for academic jobs. When applying to graduate schools, your CV will be looked at by the selection committee and will likely be shared with faculty members in the department to solicit their feedback as well. When applying for jobs, the search committee and other relevant parties will review your CV to determine if your qualifications and credentials make you a suitable candidate for the position. When applying for academic or research jobs, you will likely be asked to submit your CV rather than a traditional resume. CV sections. As previously mentioned, CVs are much more comprehensive than resumes. So, your CV will have many different sections. Here is a list of the most common CV sections. You will almost always start off by providing your educational background. Then, the following sections, in no particular order, are research experience, publications, presentations, professional experience, teaching experience, if applicable, service activities, honors and awards, and professional affiliations. Let's take a closer look at each of these sections individually. Education. The first section of your CV will almost always be your education section. This section should be organized by listing your most recently obtained degree first. For each degree you have, you will list the degree type, for instance, Bachelor of Arts or Bachelor of Science, the university you obtained it from, the location of that university, and the date you obtained it. Because you'll be applying to graduate schools before you earn your undergraduate degree, you will put the anticipated date of your graduation. You should also list the area of specialization, for example, mechanical engineering, biological sciences, psychology, etc. You could also list your cumulative GPA or your major GPA, but it's recommended that you only do so if it's above a 3.5 on a 4-point scale. Additionally, you can also list the title of your honors thesis, if you completed one, and the name of your advisor. Research experience. When you're applying to graduate schools, your research experience is paramount. As a McNair scholar, you'll have a wealth of different research experiences that you can highlight on your CV. So, you'll probably want to put this section right up front. The research experience section is where you identify and briefly describe the different research teams and projects that you've worked on. Don't list any publications or presentations here. Those have their own sections. Experiences working in different labs, UCARE, the McNair Summer Research Experience, or summer research experiences at other universities are all examples of relevant events that you could list here. For each research experience that you've had, you should list your position, where you had the experience, and when. Then, you should identify the name of the project and the principal investigator. Include a couple of bullet points outlining your responsibilities for each project. Publications. Your publications section should list all of your publications in reverse chronological order. Be sure to format your publications in accordance with your field standard citation format. For most fields, peer-reviewed journals are considered the most noteworthy types of scholarly publications, so that might be the only publication section that you have. For other fields, such as computer science, you might need to have a peer-reviewed journal articles section and a separate peer-reviewed conference proceedings section, because peer-reviewed conference proceedings papers are held in high esteem in the field of computer science. In contrast, in creative arts fields like English, art, or music, you would have a section for the different pieces you produce. Talk with your mentors and learn which types of publications you should highlight in your CV and how to best organize your publication section or sections. Presentations. Your presentations section should list all of your presentations in reverse chronological order. Be sure to format the entries in this section in accordance with your field's standard citation format. Professional experience. This is the section where you'll list any relevant non-research experiences that you have. These professional experiences should be relevant to your field and the position you're applying for. For example, if you're applying for a computer science program, then an internship at Google would look really great here. Or, if you're applying for a mechanical engineering program, then an internship or summer position at General Electric would be really relevant. For the most part, graduate selection committees won't be overly impressed if you list working at a grocery store here, or other non-academic related positions. Try to keep this section focused on the program or position you're applying for and only include relevant experiences. For each experience, you should identify the position you held, the organization you worked for, and when and where the position took place. Also include a few brief bullet points describing your responsibilities for each experience. Teaching experience. If you have any teaching experience, then you should include that in your CV. If you don't have any teaching experiences, then don't sweat it, because most undergraduates don't. You can just omit this section from your CV entirely, and it probably won't raise any alarms with selection committees. If undergraduates have any teaching experience, then it will likely be in the form of teaching assistant or as a guest lecturer on a topic they are knowledgeable about. For each teaching experience you have, list the position you held, the course, and the location and date of the experience. If you assisted with a semester-long course, then be sure to note how many credit hours the course was worth and how many sections you assisted with. You can also provide a few brief bullet points to describe your experience, if you wish. Service activities. Your service activities section will include any volunteer work that you do in service to your university, community, or field. I admit that it can be a bit tricky to decide which experiences go in your professional experience section and which experiences go into your service activities section. As a general rule of thumb, Any positions that you had to apply for go into your professional experiences section, and any experiences that you volunteered, were nominated, or were elected for go into your service activities section. While filling out your service activities section, be mindful of the types of activities you include. Typically, service to your field or university is held in higher esteem than recreational service activities. For instance, graduate school admissions committees would be interested to know if a psychology student volunteered at a nonprofit counseling center, or if an engineering student volunteered to be a peer mentor for an after-school program at an elementary school that was designed to encourage girls to pursue a career in STEM. However, the committee might be less interested to know that somebody coached a Little League soccer team or helped out with the high school's cinema club. As with your research and professional experience sections, try to include the most relevant activities possible. For each of your service activities, list the position you held, the name of the organization, program, or university, the dates of the position, and brief bullet points describing your responsibilities. Honors and awards. Your honors and awards section should list all the accolades that you have garnered during your undergraduate career. Bear in mind that it's typical to leave out high school-specific honors and awards from your undergraduate CV. For example, making the high school honor roll or being named the Student of the Month. Examples of honors and awards that you can list in this section are scholarships, fellowships, your UCARE experiences, your selection as a McNair Scholar, undergraduate academic achievements like being named to the Dean's List, and anything else that you won or were honored for during your time as an undergraduate. Professional affiliations. Your CV should also contain a complete list of the professional organizations you're a member of. Your affiliations can be local or national. Examples of local organizations include the UNL Biology Club or the UNL Undergraduate Psychology Organization. Examples of national organizations include the Association for Computing Machinery, the Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineers, or the American Physical Society. For each professional affiliation listed on your CV, you should include the name of the organization and the years you've been or were a member. Other optional sections. In addition to the 9 sections that we just talked about, there are several other sections that might appear on your CV depending upon your field of study. First, it is common in some fields to provide a brief listing of your relevant qualifications or skills. For instance, familiarity with different statistical packages or software programs. For some of you, this might require listing different languages you speak or your fluency level. Third, you might be expected to list different certifications or licensures on your CV. For example, a computer science student might earn his or her HTML web developer certificate, or a nutrition student might become certified in fitness nutrition. Fourth, it is normal in some domains to provide a brief, bulleted list of the research topics that you're interested in. Finally, a lot of fields expect you to provide the contact information for 2 or 3 references at the end of your CV. When considering which sections to include on your academic CV, remember that you should always talk to your faculty mentor about which sections are commonly included on the CVs of members of your field. Formatting tips. Now that you're familiar with the different sections that tend to make up a CV, let's talk about how to format the document. Essentially, your CV should use a consistent format that is organized and readable. People reviewing your CV should have an easy time navigating their way around the document. Here are a few tips to help. First, use 1-inch margins on all sides. Second, make sure that your headings are in bold, capital case, and 14-point font. This will help your headings stand out and will aid readers in navigating around your CV. Third, use a 12-point single-spaced font for the entries in the different sections of your CV. Fourth, left justify all headings and use indented bullets when you want to provide more details to a specific entry. Fifth, Leave at least one blank line before each new heading. This will help space out your CV and keep things from looking too cluttered on the page. And don't forget that there are no page requirements for a CV, so you don't need to feel pressured to cram as much information onto a single page as possible. Next, there's no need to use an exotic, catchy font. Times New Roman is always appropriate and professional. Although there are no firm requirements for bolded or italicized font, you should use it judiciously. If you bold or italicize too much, then it becomes a headache to look at and can become confusing for readers to navigate. Also, if everything is bolded or italicized, then nothing stands out as important. Before you submit your CV to the online application system for a graduate school or job application, remember to save it as a PDF to avoid any unintended formatting changes, and remember to include your name and the document title. Saving your name in the document title makes it easy for those on the selection committee to easily identify your files. Finally, make sure that you don't repeat any items on your CV. If there is an experience that could probably fit into more than one section, then just pick the section that you think is the most appropriate. The last formatting recommendation relates to tense usage. It's important to use the appropriate tense when describing experiences in your CV. These descriptions will come in the form of 2 or 3 bullet points underneath each of your research or professional experiences. If you use the incorrect tense, then it looks like you didn't put a lot of thought or effort into describing your experiences. Avoid making this simple mistake, or you can unintentionally give readers of your CV a bad impression. For positions or jobs that you currently have, you should describe your experiences in present tense because these are the things that you're currently doing. For instance, when describing your responsibilities as part of a research team, you might write, analyze data and report findings for National Science Foundation funded research on the use of green algae to combat river pollution. For positions or jobs that you no longer have, you should describe your experiences in past tense. Once you are no longer part of the research team or project, you would write, analyzed data and reported findings for National Science Foundation funded research on the use of green algae to combat river pollution. Now that you're a little more familiar with a few common formatting conventions, let's take a look at a sample CV and see how it all comes together. Here is a sample CV for the student Jane Doe. Jane is submitting her CV to a highly competitive graduate school program in her field. What you're seeing right now is the first page of her 2-page CV. Take a few moments to look over this first page of Jane's CV. Then we'll break things down together. Alright, so let's take a look at this first page together. The first thing you probably noticed was Jane's name and contact information. This information is prominently displayed at the top of the document. It is center aligned and her name is bolded. It is in slightly larger font to help it stand out. The other sections of the document are left justified and section headings are bolded to aid with organization and to help guide the reader's attention. And there is a line of blank space in between each section to help the document avoid appearing too cluttered. Remember, spacing is your friend. The first section Jane included on her CV was her education section. As I mentioned earlier, this should always be the first section that you include on your CV when applying to graduate school. Jane has the degree she earned, where she earned it, and when. Moreover, she has identified her area of specialization. And, because Jane completed an honors thesis, she has included the title and the name of her thesis advisor. Next, notice the sections that Jane chose to include on the first page of her CV: research experience and publications. This was a strategic decision on Jane's part because she knew that these would be the first sections that members of the graduate selection committee would see when they reviewed her CV. Because the graduate program she is applying to values research activities and scholarly productivity, Jane placed these sections up front to show the committee why she is a strong candidate for their program. For both of the positions in her research experience section, Jane has italicized the name of her position to help it jump out to readers and provided the location and date of the position. Finally, she has identified the names of the projects, the principal investigator, and provided a few brief bullet points that summarize her responsibilities. You'll also see Jane's publications section includes a list of her publications in peer-reviewed journals and magazines. Both of Jane's research experiences and her publications are presented in reverse chronological order to help give readers of her CV a sense of the activities she has been involved with most recently. As you can see, Jane's CV is easy to read, and because Jane knows that readers of this graduate selection committee value scholarly productivity, Jane has strategically placed her research experience and publication history front and center. Here is the second page of Jane's CV. As you can see, this page follows the same formatting as the first page of her CV. I'll give you a few moments to review this page of Jane's CV so that you can familiarize yourself with the layout of a complete CV. Remember to tailor your CV. Your CV will be with you your entire career, so your task is to keep it as up-to-date as possible. It is also important that you order the sections of your CV based on the position you're applying for. If you're applying for a graduate school or postdoc, then your research experiences should be front and center. If you're applying for a non-academic job and your potential employer requires a CV, then you might want to put your professional experiences near the front. Moreover, the order of your CV can vary based on the type of faculty positions you might apply for in the future. A large, research-intensive university would want to see your research experiences, publications, and presentations right up front. However, a small liberal arts college that focuses on teaching, service, and mentoring would probably prefer that their applicants place those sections up front. Summary. Today, we talked about what your CV is and how to build a CV that stands out to graduate selection committees and future employers. Your CV provides readers with a comprehensive picture of your scholarly experiences and accomplishments. There can be a lot of information that goes into your CV, so take care to pay attention to organization and to take steps to ensure that somebody looking at your CV will have an easy time reading and navigating the document. Remember to keep your CV as up-to-date as possible, and try to identify gaps in your CV and take steps to fill them. For instance, are you lacking service activities or professional affiliations? You could probably find ways to address those gaps by talking to a trusted mentor in your field and searching for opportunities. Finally, remember to tailor your CV for each position you apply for. Strategically place the experiences most relevant for that position near the beginning of your CV, and place less relevant sections near the back. If you follow the suggestions we talked about today, then you'll have a CV that cleanly displays your experiences and accomplishments. Additional resources. Lastly, here are a few resources to help you learn even more about building a strong CV that clearly displays your experiences, accomplishments, and accolades.